Hi, I'm Tim Zacharias with Cougar USA and your host of Building Value. My guest today is Karine Leblanc. Welcome to the show.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me, Tim. So excited to be with you today.
Awesome, awesome. Well, love the energy, Karine. Karine is a specifying sales engineer at U.S. Air Conditioning Distributors, speaker, trainer, coach, and author. So congratulations on the largest or longest title of any guest so far. I'm very excited to have Karine on today. We're going to be talking about the soft skills, the human skills, and how those play into the technical world. So we're going to be talking about her background, involvement with ASHRAE, and her new book, How to Be Human in a Technical World. On Building Value, we go behind the scenes of building operations to showcase the people and products that make buildings work and the value they bring to the community. So, cool. Well, can you tell me about where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Quebec City. Small little town, 600,000 people. Everybody speak French. Very safe. You can go out at night. Nothing is never going to happen to you. When there is something happening in a newspaper, everybody's like, oh my God, like a cat died, something like that.
No,
So
they're having
it's
to make up news, basically.
exactly. So I love Quebec City. I'm always going to be very close to my city.
Nice. So how did you end up in California where you are now?
Believe it or not, I wanted to learn English.
Okay.
And in my university, we have to do 3 internship. And I did the first one at the airport of Montreal. And then the second one, I did it for Carrier Corporation in Montreal.
Okay.
And this is when I realized I'm like, oh, I'm a salesperson. Yes, I found what I wanted, right? And then my third internship, I was like, okay, I already know I want to go in sales. I already know I want to work for a manufacturer like Carrier at that time, but I don't speak English. And obviously, this is a big lack. So at my going away lunch with my internship with Carrier, I just raised my hand and I told the guys, I'm like, oh, you know what? My dream is to go to US and learn English. And one of the Guy, was like, oh, my brother-in-law lives there. Maybe I can send him an email. And then that was it.
Nice.
I got an email. He just had lost his internal salesperson, inside sales. I was available. I came for an internship, and that was it. After the internship, I moved here. I fell in love with California.
Nice. That's awesome. And where are you now? Where in California?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay. So what's the company you're at now and what's your role?
I work for U.S. Air Conditioning Distributor. We are a privately owned distributor, and I've been working there since basically right off school.
Okay.
So when I did my internship to learn English, it was with them. So they've seen the Korean coming and not speaking so much English and saying yes or smiling because I didn't really understand. And they've seen me grow from like the inside sales intern to becoming a specifying sales engineer. So this
That's
is
awesome.
my current role, but I've always been a specifying sales engineer.
Okay. And so are you call mostly on consulting engineers?
I only call on consulting engineers, and sometimes I call on owners. I have a couple
Mm-hmm.
owners, and sometime I will sell direct if there is they want something very fast, or I have a good relationship with the owner. Like Cedars-Sinai Hospital, I call on them. I've been calling on them. I've been selling them a lot of chillers. So the relationship started 10 years ago. But yeah, our company is awesome because it's privately owned. So if I have a question, I can just walk down the hall, talk to the CEO, CFO, and I'm like,
Nice.
hey, John, I have a question. I need help. And that's it. I don't need like a special appointment. I don't need to be important. I don't have to ask or beg the secretary or the executive assistant. So I really love this, the family feel
Sure.
and the the fact that it's accessible. So
Yeah, definitely
great
agree
company
with
to
you
work
there.
with.
We're a small company as
Yeah.
well, and definitely love that kind of family environment and not all the red tape that comes with a big corporation. So,
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm a number. You know, they know me, they know my name, and if I don't show up at a sales meeting, they know. They're like, Karine, where were you?
nice. So, I imagine with some of the new legislation in California moving away from natural gas, is that presenting some opportunities for y'all?
Yeah, a lot of opportunities and a lot of headaches too,
Yeah.
because we have a huge inventory. You know, we have probably like 80 million of inventory
Wow.
at our headquarters. So that means that everything that is gas now we have to rethink,
Sure.
and we have to talk to the factory of what's going on. And no, we're very excited about it, and of course. We rep York, and York has stepped like forward and have
Mm-hmm.
everything available. They have been working for a long time on it, so I feel very well equipped to attack this new decarbonization
Yes.
thing that is going on, and so I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, and we have a little bit different kind of regulatory environment here in Texas, but this wouldn't be the first time that California has passed regulations that have kind of had a cascading effect across the country. Just like you said, York's already kind of had to react to it, and that once those manufacturers make those changes, they don't necessarily make them state by state. It's kind of a big shift. So I do think New York, California could potentially have a similar impact in other states, like it has in the past. So very interested to see how all that rolls out. So, you mentioned that you've been at the same company since your internship, and they've kind of seen you grow, but you've also kind of grown within the industry and gotten involved with ASHRAE as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. I joined ASHRAE actually when I was a student at my university.
Okay.
So it looks like it's so funny because I grew with US Air Conditioning as much as ASHRAE all together. And one good thing that I can say is that my company always supported me with ASHRAE, no matter what.
Yep.
They pay for my dinner. They always encourage me. They receive my emails. They point when I have spelling error in my emails. That would be from my boss. No, so seriously, I started with ASHRAE when I was a student. And actually, ASHRAE has kind of changed my life because when you work in sales, you don't really get the opportunity to lead a team or to manage people and learn how to collaborate or
Mm-hmm.
communicate or create relationships. So within ASHRAE, I got to really get to learn that part because I volunteered, and then I went up the rank and I became president of the chapter. And the chapter had 800 members.
Wow.
And then I had to learn how to lead, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with different personality, how to take care of like maybe members that are not doing their job to step up. And to be a leader and have people being paid to follow you is a whole different story compared to being a leader for a volunteer organization.
Sure.
Because people don't need to follow you, right? If they like you, if they like the message or the vision or the mission, then they will follow you. So I feel like when you're a leader for a nonprofit, for volunteers, this is really what makes a difference.
Sure.
And to show if you're actually a good leader. So I learned everything from ASHRAE about this. And then after the chapter, I became the regional director.
Okay.
And then I was responsible for 4,500 members in my
Ooh.
region 10. And then I was sitting on the board of this huge 55,000 members organization. So again, I would have never learned all of this just by doing my job every day. So I'm very, very grateful for everything that I received from ASHRAE. And this is why I give so much back, because I feel like it's normal, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
payback time.
Yeah, pay it forward. Yeah.
Yeah, make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great organization. And it's interesting to hear you talk about the difference between leading in the company versus leading in the nonprofit. I mean, I feel like definitely within that nonprofit, you have to have the passion and want, believe in what that organization is doing to excite people to kind of, want to follow you and get more involved. Like you said, it definitely is a lot bigger effort there than than when you're paying people within your organization to do the same. So definitely appreciate that. So I guess this past AHR Expo, we tried to get together and do the podcast there in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, got a little busy for both of us and it didn't work out. But you did some presentations on the same topic or similar topics to the new book, right?
Yes. Yeah, ASHRAE was very, very busy, as much as for you. I did 3 presentations. I did one for the students, to about like 50 to 75 students. And I spoke about how ASHRAE has impacted my life in my career. So I gave them some tips. And then I had a presentation for the AHR Expo, and I spoke about how to be human in the technical world, which is the title of my book. And my last presentation that I did was the soft skills for engineers. It's a course that my partner Pam, who's also a mechanical engineer, my partner like in HVAC, not my partner in life. And Pam and I were both teaching that course for the ASHRAE Learning Institute. And this course is offered to ASHRAE about 3 times to 4 times a year. So I had those 3 presentations, and I was also moderating on a panel of a woman in ASHRAE on Monday morning. So I got to moderate like a panel of 5 brilliant engineers, women, and this was a huge success. We had like 150 people attend that breakfast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. A lot of work, but so rewarding. It was good to see everybody in person and hug and talk, and this was so much fun.
Yep. And it's interesting that the topics that you're presenting on aren't necessarily, what you would think of when you would go to an ASHRAE talk. I mean, a lot of them are about kind of the state of the industry or new technology, but why is it that you feel so strongly about these soft skills and how to be human in the technical world that is kind of pushing you to do these presentations and writing this book?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Tim. What I've noticed is, I do a lot of lunch and learns, chillers, rooftop, VRF. And what I realize is it doesn't really matter how smart and technical you are if nobody wants to work with you.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can give all those lunch and learn, and I can have so much expertise about my topic, my subject, which I have. But if I don't have the relationship with my clients, if I'm not good with them, if I'm not good with customers, then they're going to go with somebody else.
Sure.
And even if I know less than my competition, but I'm a better communicator, I'm a better at relationship, I collaborate better, I care more, then I get the business. So I was like, it's not only me who needs that. I think everybody, because I see it every time I get people interacting with me, and I was like, wow, this was so rude. What kind of tone was that? Or I don't want to call that person because they're not nice.
Sure.
And so I was like, if this helped me, if this impacted my life, then how can I inspire people to change their behavior or to improve and maybe increase their awareness about it?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And it's definitely, I wouldn't say that's on any of the curriculum of an engineering program or, an industrial distribution program or anything like that a lot of people take to get into this industry, but it's one of those things, like you said, it's very important. And even though this is a, B2B, business to business type industry, you're still dealing with people, right? I mean, ultimately it's a person still making the decision to buy, whether it's for a company or, whether they're buying something personally. So definitely appreciate the impact that those softer skills can have, and have seen that exactly what you're talking about play out for us. So can
And Tim, if I may add, what I've noticed, I'm also an ASHRAE distinguished lecturer, and we are only 72 distinguished lecturers around the world. And what I've noticed is when I look at all the topics of all the presentation, everything was technical.
Yep.
And then this is where I raise my hand and I'm like, hey, I think we may need this. What do you think? And ASHRAE took a chance on me, took a chance on the subject, and they allowed me to become a distinguished lecturer. And I spoke about how to use emotional intelligence to become a better person at work and at home. That is the title. That was my first presentation that I did. I started in October 2017. Well, just to tell you and show you how maybe this topic is more needed, I spoke and I gave that presentation 84 times in 3.5 years.
Wow.
And when I look at my Excel sheet, typical engineer or not a typical engineer, but still doing Excel sheet, right?
Yep.
And I look, 50% of them were for US and 50% were outside of US. So there is a need everywhere in the world, not only here. Everybody wants to hear about this.
Sure.
So when I saw that, I was like, whoa. So people are interested. It's not only me who cares about it. So I decided to talk about it and offer this as well at the HR Expo. And they were kind enough to say, hey, we think the same. We recognize there's a need here. And when I see that I had full house in my presentation, then I'm like, okay, this just adds more oil to the fire, basically.
Sure. No, that's great. So if a local ASHRAE chapter wants for you to come in and do those presentations, that you're still offering that?
Yes, absolutely. This is a great program that is offered and is part of the membership. When you pay your membership, your dues for ASHRAE, people are like, oh, do I really want this? Where does it go? Well, this is one of the advantage. So if you are a chapter in India, for example, and you're looking for an expert in a subject that is not available to you, it could be indoor air quality, it can be central plant, or it can be non-technical subject like mine. Then you can request a speaker from a pool of already pre-approved speakers to come and speak to your chapter.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of the benefits that ASHRAE offers. So I spoke in 12 different countries because of that.
That's cool.
So if I go speak in Dubai, I went to Lebanon, I went to Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, Greece, I went to Nigeria, I went to South Africa. All of these give me a chance to talk about my message and help other engineers as well.
That's awesome. And I imagine now with things potentially being virtual, the potential for your reach is even greater.
All these presentations were in person, by the way.
Wow.
And then the only one that I did that were virtual are the one in India.
Oh, okay.
So India, I did virtually. I also did England virtually. And of course, a lot of US and Canada. But I'm flying next week to Calgary to give another presentation.
Nice.
And looking forward to this one. And yesterday I did Hawaii, which I was supposed to be in person, but I did virtual. This I really wanted to do.
Yeah, I could see Hawaii staying on the in-person list. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely, yes.
So I guess did you kind of take all of this experience and kind of roll it into the book? Is that how you ended up putting out the book?
Yes, absolutely. I really felt like I wanted to share my story, and I wanted to inspire other people to also change their behavior and increase their awareness about this topic. Because I can speak, but my reach will only go to the people I speak.
Sure.
But with a book, then I can reach way more people. I can impact way more lives. So I felt like very strongly about this book. And I don't know if you know, Tim, but 80% of Americans dream to write a book.
Really?
But only 1% of them will do it.
Okay.
Okay, so writing a book is not an easy task, right? It's it's pretty tough. But I decided on May 1st of last year, 2021, that I wanted to write a book. And I never wanted to be an author. I never thought I would be an author. Like, I'm an engineer. I write with bullet, ta 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 ta, enter, ta 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 ta, enter. This is my kind of style of writing.
Sure.
And if there's a paragraph, I'm like, oh no, this is way too long. What's the summary? What's the big picture?
Right.
What's the message here? And but you know what I did? Something I learned with the years is I asked for help. And I've never asked for help. It was something very difficult for me because I don't know why, but asking for help for me is kind of weak. It shows that you're weak, and I'm a strong person.
Sure. Showing
So I
some
don't want to feel that
vulnerability.
I'm weak.
Yeah.
But I was, totally wrong. It's not because you ask for help that you're weak. And I asked for help. I hired a book coach. And then she helped me. And I was able to write my book in 6 weeks.
That's fast.
I started writing on June 1st. And on July 15, I had written 50,000 words.
Whoa.
Yes, and the secret is basically the preparation, from May 1st to June 1st, to get ready with the outline, what you're going to talk about, the story, and then when you're ready, you go. And I wrote every morning from 5 to 7 before going to work, and just being consistent, being disciplined, and just get it out. And my book launched on January 28th of 2022 during the ASHRAE conference and the HR Expo. So that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And it's a cool story because, I think, like you said, obviously there's a lot of people that have thought about doing it, but it just seems like this massive undertaking. So to hear it kind of broken down into smaller pieces like that definitely makes it feel more attainable. So very cool. So what is the title of the book again? And can you give us like a little short overview of what it's all about? There it is.
Go. How to be human in a technical world.
I like it.
So basically, this book will teach you about the magic 6. I call them the magic 6.
Okay.
Because I feel like when you have technical skills and you have human skills, here in the middle, when you have both, this is where the magic happens. Okay, you cannot just have human skills. You cannot have just technical skills. So when you have them, the magic happen, and I call them the magic 6. So I teach about 6 magic human skills.
Okay.
And when you develop those skills, it will help you basically become a better human in that technical world. It will help you change your behavior. It will increase your awareness. And then I feel like you're going to be more productive and you're going to be happier. Because if you think about like a moment or a person that you're dreading to talk to because maybe they're aggressive, maybe they're not nice, you have conflict with them, I feel like it decreases our productivity, right? It's like you think about that and it sucks all the energy from you, just having to go talk to them. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? Or are they going to be in a good mood today? Are they going to be overreacting? And now you're all like walking on eggs and you're like, oh my God. So when you deal with all of this, after that, you're going to feel like so free and so happy. And then you're going to go back and get so much done. And it's going to be so helpful. So this book will do that.
Nice. So I know you don't want to give away all the secrets, right? Because then people won't need to go buy the book and read it. But can you tell us what the magic 6 are?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I can tell you. Okay, I have them all written here. Self-love.
Okay.
First of all, self-love. So you must love yourself and care about yourself first, right?
Makes sense.
And then self-control. How you manage yourself. So one thing that, in this book, I talk about my personal story, okay? How I changed my life 180 degree. How I transformed from Karine version 1.0 to Karine 2.0. And in that story, I talk about how before I was controlled by my emotions. I would overreact. And then I learned how to control myself and control my emotion. And this is chapter 2. And then in the chapter 3, actually not chapter 3, but the third skills. And then the third skill about is self-discipline. Because you can control yourself but for how long? You know, are you going to do it for 6 months? Or are you going to do it for a year? And then the last three are to give recognition. So when you give recognition, you receive appreciation.
Okay.
And this is one thing that ASHRAE does very well, is they give a lot of recognition. There is so many certificates. You know, I could paint my whole office wall of certificates. So they do that. It's very important. Then the number 5 is connecting. I talk about you can communicate, but until you connect, this is where really everything changes. So you can say things, but when you connect, this is more important. And the last one is empathy, to show empathy.
Yep.
This one,
It's a hard one.
I was a big 0 when I started. I could care less if somebody was like sick. I'm like, oh my God, you're not coming to the office? You're sick. How sick can you be? Really? Hello, you know? So yeah, self-love, self-control, self-discipline. So this is all in the self-awareness.
Okay.
Then the social awareness is recognition, connection, and empathy.
Nice. I like the way you broke those down, and you know, I was kind of nodding my head along the way, going, you know, I think I got that. I like that. I feel like I do pretty good on that. And then you brought up the empathy, and it's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to read the book now to figure out that one, because I know you mentioned, I think on the website. I'm assuming there's some ties to the DISC profile in this, because I saw you mention that, but I've done the Strengths Finder assessment through Gallup, and I got the 34, you know, the all 34 strengths theme. Can you guess what my number 34 was? It was empathy. Yeah. So it was kind of a slap in the face when I realized that, man, I kind of started looking back and I was like, yeah, I'm just really kind of aloof, or not even, you know, aware that I'm that bad at empathy. So it's definitely been something I'm more aware of, but I would definitely say I have room for improvement. And I think my wife would agree with that statement. She'd probably say it's an understatement.
Tim, I love it because you just show that you're aware of it. And this is, I think, so important, because once you're aware, then you have to make the choice. Am I doing something about it or not?
Sure.
And most of the people are not aware. So if you're not aware, how are you supposed to change?
Yep.
You don't know what you don't know.
Very true.
So I'm really like hoping that this book will create some light bulb moment, that people are going to be like, ooh, that's me. And one thing that I do in the book is every skills has a set of questions to find out, are you like that or not? I give examples, and you're like, okay, from 0 to 10, am I like this or not? And then I took all those questions and I made them in an assessment.
Okay.
So you can actually do the assessment, and after that it will give you a wheel and say, okay, you're good at this, and maybe you need to work on that one. So maybe for you, on the pie, it would be empathy would be like, okay, I need to work on this.
It would definitely be that. It's definitely going to be an area I need to work on. So is that an assessment you recommend taking before reading the book? So I feel like when I've done these before, I like kind of doing that up front. I feel like if I read the book, then I can maybe cheat the assessment to to look a little better.
That's a very good question, actually. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you should do it before, read the book, and do it after, right?
Okay. Nice.
But it's on my website, and you can do it. It's free. And then in order to improve, every chapter has those takeaways, application exercise. So it's not only like I'm going to read a book and I'm going to be inspired. I'm going to read a book and know exactly what to do to improve.
It's good.
And again, I'm giving the tools like the DISC, the Strength Finder are one of the tools that I also talk about because they work very well for me. And they work so well that I gave it to my family so I can understand them.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, this is why, I don't like it when you say stuff like that because you're like this,
Yep.
So it really, really helped me understand.
Absolutely. I actually did the same thing. I had my wife take the Strengths Finder, and our top 5 is almost identical. And it was like, oh, that explains a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome
Yeah.
that you did that.
Yeah.
Good job. Are you doing it with your office
We have.
as well?
So we do, everybody that comes through the interview process at Cougar, they take the Strengths Finder assessment. And this guy, I mean, I got a whole history of the StrengthsFinder assessment. I won't go too deep into it, but when I was in college, I applied at Best Buy and for like a sales job, and they have you take the StrengthsFinder assessment as part of their like application, but they didn't really tell me what I was doing or what the impact was going to be. And when I got through the application, I went and told the manager, "Hey, I got it. I'm finished. Is it all good?" And he tried to look it up, and he was like, "Oh, I can't find it. Let me look over here." He's like, "Oh, sorry, your application's been rejected." And he looked at me like straight face. At Best Buy, we only hire yellow personalities, and you didn't come up as a yellow personality, right? So you have the 4 buckets in the StrengthsFinder, and the yellow is influencing, which
Yeah.
makes sense why they would want that. But he didn't tell me that at all. And so I just left and was mad at Best Buy. I literally didn't buy anything for Best Buy for like 10 years until I sat in a StrengthsFinder assessment like course, and I saw their name up on the board that they use it, and I was like, okay, now I get what's going on. But I'm still not a yellow personality, by the way. I'm like split between executing and strategic thinking. But yeah, yeah. So after all that, I have a wife to it. The only yellow I have in my top 5 is competition, and my wife and I are both very competitive, so that explained a lot.
Competition is my number one.
Is it? Yeah, that's good.
Then there's activator, futuristic, and I'm not sure about the other one. What are yours?
So,
Do you remember them?
yep, I have Achievers my number 1, and then Learner number 2, Competition 3, and then it's Strategic and Responsibility.
Nice. I have Commander also.
Okay, that's a good.
And
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, ooh, command. I don't want to be the dictator, But then I read about it. I'm like, okay, this is all good.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was what I didn't like about the way that Best Buy used it, was because the whole intent of it is to kind of point out your strengths and then show you how you can use them, not necessarily saying any one strength is better than the other. And so when we do our interview process now, if we don't hire somebody, I still go through their StrengthsFinder results with them, and hopefully they walk away with something that's helpful, even if it's not a job here at Cougar. So I make sure that they don't walk away pissed off at Cougar like I was at Best Buy for 10 years.
Wow, good job. So you're applying something that you learn. You're like, I'm not going to make the same mistake.
Exactly, yeah.
This hurt me. I'm not going to do to other people. Oh,
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, Tim.
Well,
You should write a book too.
yeah, I don't know about all that. But it was definitely one of those, it's kind of one of those light bulb moments that, like you said, when I did go through it, and it was like, wow, I definitely, this makes sense as you read through the report, and similar with DISC as well. So I'm interested to see, because I'll be honest, I was waiting to read the book until we talked. I didn't want to kind of cheat and get ahead, but so I'm curious to read the book now and see how all those go together.
Yeah, I love it. I love that the disc tell you how to communicate the do's and the don'ts and what motivates them as well. I use it. When I go into sales, I look at the person I'm talking to and I'm like, okay, are they a green, a blue, a yellow, or a red, And if I see that they're more like decisive, aggressive, I'm not going to go to the detail. I'm not going to go to the detail of the proposal or the specs. I'm just going to tell them, hey, you're going to save that much money, or this is going to be a lighter unit. This, like what's the end result?
Sure.
Because they're red. But most engineers are blue. They're all analytical. They're all compliant. So when I talk to them, I tell them, well, this gonna meet Title 24, or this gonna be more efficient. I'm gonna go to all the details of the unit, what it can do. When I make selection, it's not 92 degrees, it's 92.4 degrees,
Right.
because I know how they are, right? I'm not gonna get pissed. I'm not gonna dismiss, but come on, 400 CFM, 450 CFM, who cares? No, I will do 450 because they are blue, right? So I learned about this, and it's really helpful. And you know what? I use this at a hospital. I was going on the plant. They were having problem with their chillers. And I go talk to the operating and maintenance manager or director. And guess what? I show up to his office. Right on his desk, there was a plastic paper that shows the results of his desk.
Oh, that's cool.
Probably that the company made them
Yep,
do that.
we do that.
And they put it there. But I saw it when I came. And I was like, okay, red and yellow. And I'm like, okay, red, yellow, okay. So do you think I went into the details? Nope.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, we can change that color, no problem. It's going to be fast. It's going to cost you that much money. Bang, bang, bang. And then I knew it was a yellow. Therefore, I know that he likes a spotlight. He likes to speak. He wants to give his opinion. So I just back off. I let him shine. I let him be the hero
Sure.
or like the. So I adjusted my salesmanship according to what I saw.
That's interesting.
But maybe somebody else would have come in and go into the details which he didn't care, obviously, or they would have spoke for 90% of the time and the person would have been frustrated. You see how it works?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of more along the lines of the platinum rule, like treating people how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated, right?
Absolutely.
That's cool. So is that you mentioned the placards like on their office? We do that with the strengths finders. Everybody's top 5 strengths is on their nameplate at their office. So it's cool.
You guys are awesome. You're like, I want to work for you.
Awesome.
Any openings in Texas?
There we go. Hey, maybe if we pick up a chiller line, then we'll give you a call.
There you go. There you go.
Awesome. So that's cool. So you mentioned salespeople and engineers, kind of this whole technical world. Who do you feel like you wrote this book for? Who do you feel like is going to benefit the most by reading it?
That's a very good question. Not that you don't have good question, Tim, but I wrote it for technical professionals.
Okay.
Okay, like engineers, but not only engineers. Because I had some of my friends read the book and they didn't think it would be for them. They're like, oh, it's a book for engineers because they know I'm an engineer. And then they started reading it and they're like, oh, Karine, it's so good. I feel like you're talking to me. And now I feel like I have human skills and actually give me even more confidence at work. So yes, I wrote it for technical professionals, but I feel like it can be applied to everyone.
Sure.
And I had a dentist appointment on Tuesday, and she was like, hey, are you stressed out? Your gum are like kind of swollen. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I have this big book launch party. I wrote a book. She's like, oh, really? What's about? And I was telling her about it, and she's like, oh my God, I need this book. Because we have so many dentists, like doctors, that are so mean to us, so aggressive. They cannot talk, and there is so many conflict. And she's like, I need this. And I was like, okay, so see, it's a technical professional.
Sure.
And then I have another friend who works in radiology at the hospital, and she says, oh my God, the surgeon, we have to deal with that. So another type of technical professional. So I wrote this book for that, for the analytical mind,
Sure.
I guess, the left brain people.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense because it's funny. My roommate in college and best man at my wedding, he's an actuary. I mean, he was a math major in college, and he ended up basically being pushed almost into the kind of the sales role within that organization because he was like a person, he was more personable than most math majors. So I imagine I'm going to send this to him. I bet he's got a few coworkers that might benefit from it as well.
Yeah, that's good. It looks like he had the technical part,
Yes.
He had all the math, but he had the human side, and it's very rare to have both,
Yes.
like very strong. Usually we're more like one side or the other. So that's wonderful. I think this is what happened to me. When I realized that after my first internship, when I worked at the airport of Montreal about engineering, I was like, oh, I don't think I like that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, am I in the right place? I think I'm in the wrong field. Until I went to find my second internship and I realized there is technical sales. And I was like, ooh, I love this. This is fun,
Yeah.
You get to use your brain and also a lot of relationship and interaction, and I'm very like people person. So this is good for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I mean, I feel like the kind of people are like always ask like, hey, what do you do? What does Cougar do? And well, we sell plumbing and mechanical equipment for commercial buildings. And you're like, oh, that doesn't really sound that exciting, but it really is. Like you said, I mean, it's problem solving. We get to be in a lot of cool buildings, like you've mentioned, hospitals and other things. So yeah, it is, there's a lot more on the people side that goes into it in that technical world. So that's awesome. So what would you say to, like, what would be kind of your advice to anyone in the industry or in general that's looking to improve on their human skills? What would be your advice to them?
Read my book.
A true salesperson there. I love it.
No, but seriously, it's like I can tell you what to do, but I feel like it's almost like your parents telling you what to do. It's like until you really see it and you read it and you want to do the work, you want to improve, you want to become a better person, then this is where it's going to happen. I think until you realize that, mm, you know, I feel like it really makes a difference if an incident or how hurt you are, basically. Or I tell everybody, it's almost like being on a cruise control. You live your life, you're on cruise control, you have your speed, and you go, and sometimes you accelerate, sometimes you slow down. But it's always the same scenery. You wake up, you go to work, you sleep, take care of the kids, do the grocery, and repeat.
Sure.
And then one day you're like, am I happy? Am I doing the best that I can do? Am I living to my full potential? I'm 44, I'm going to turn 45 in May. And then I'm like, is this what living is about? What are my values? What can I do with my life? And then they're like, okay, I want to do better. I want to have an impact. I want to mentor. I want to coach. I want to be a role model. And then this is where you start doing the work and you ask yourself questions and you apply some tools that you learn from my book.
Oh, that's great. I think that's, I think it's, I think what it's showing me, like based on what you're telling me, is, anybody can read the book, but you have to do the work and apply what you learn to see that real change, to have that discipline to continue to improve and get better.
Yeah, I had a light bulb moment that I talk about in my book. And without that light bulb, without that incident,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would be where I am right now. So that person kind of put their finger on something that I was doing wrong, and they told me. And I took the feedback well, okay? So I decided to change after that moment. And I remember April 2012, I hired a therapist and I told her, I said, she's like, what do you want to work on, Karine? I'm like, I don't know, but sometimes I'm mean and I don't know why, and I want to fix it. And she's like, okay. And I've been with the same therapist since 2012. I call her my coach, my therapist, whatever. Some people are scared, oh, therapist, she's crazy. Oh, yeah, well, we all need a coach, right? So if you don't have a coach, you cannot improve. So, and but this is because of that story, because of that moment. Somebody who told me something that was not very nice that was happening. And, you can read the whole story in the book. But if you don't have that person who tells you, it's harder.
Sure.
I know I don't know about you, but if I close my eyes and I think about people that I'm like having a hard time right now, I'm like, oh, I wish I could tell them that they're like this, that they're not fun to be around, that people talk behind closed door. But if maybe I would dare to tell them, how would they react?
Sure.
Would they take it? Would they want to change? Would they want to improve?
Yeah, they're tough conversations for sure, and like you said, you can show them the book, teach them, tell them all the ways that they can improve. But ultimately, they have to be willing to accept that feedback and wanting to improve. But I think I think this book is probably a great path for people to go in that direction if they're wanting to improve based on what you're saying. I'm excited to read and get more into it. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know you opened up and shared a lot about yourself and your life and how that all kind of flowed into the book. So I appreciate that, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Knowledge is power, but knowledge without action is useless. So you can read 50 books a year and be proud of it. But if you don't apply one thing that you learn per book,
What's the point?
then what's the point? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I challenge you, I challenge everybody who's listening, if they read a book or they read anything, it can be technical, anything, apply it. Knowledge plus action, then it's power.
I like it. It's great advice. Was there any other words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to share before we kind of wrap it up here?
No, I think that was a good ending to our discussion, right? It's,
No, it's great.
In the last page of the book, I'm sorry, I keep talking about the book right now.
Well, it was kind of,
But
that's fine.
I ask, I have a contract that I put. I don't know if you see it here. So I ask you, or ask the reader to commit to change. And the best gift that I got is from a friend who sent me her signed
Oh, that's cool.
picture of the book and say, Karine, I commit to get out of the cruise control, to get out of the hamster wheel, and to actually work on myself to become a better person. And I was like, wow. She signed it. She put the date, took a picture, and sent it to me. And she's like, I love the book. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I even didn't pay her to say that.
That's awesome. And it's great that you did that. You put the contract at the end. I mean, you talk about, or you read about just the simple act of writing down your to-do list or your goals and how much, further along that gets you than not doing that. So it's a very cool way to end the book.
Yeah, it says, until the contract is signed, nothing is real. Glenn Danzig.
Nice. Very cool. Like I said, I'm excited to read it. I appreciate you sharing that with us today and everything you're doing for our industry and, technical people in general helping us be better humans. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Tim. You're wonderful. You have great question. I love your energy. I love your company. I'm even sporting your
There
colors
we go, the
today
Cougar red. I like it.
because I'm Go Cougar. And I really appreciate your time and your knowledge. It's a very fun time. It was a very fun time to be with you.
Awesome. Well, Karine, thanks again. Really appreciate you coming on the show and, like I said, everything you're doing for our industry. So that is going to wrap up today's episode of Building Value. Hope everybody enjoyed it and hope to see you on the next one soon.